Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Finding North, coming to you again on a beautiful Sunday. As I said last week, maybe, we're getting really into spring. Fahim was sort of saying like, don't get your hopes up too much, but like we had another very good week and I'm very happy about that. My mood, my energy, everything is still up. And I hope we can sort of continue with this into spring. Hello, Fahim. How are you doing? How was your week?
Good, not bad. I must say, with the spring and we'll have another weekend of sunshine. I'm sold. I'm all in. I think it's going to be great going forward.
Exactly.
I'm very optimistic. I've been decluttering in the house. Kind of the traditional spring clean,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very therapeutic and it's nice to just be out and about. It's still a little bit chilly in London, I must say, even though the sun is out,
Yeah.
but no complaints. It's not as dull or gray or rainy or snowy, so the sun
Same here.
makes
Yeah.
a massive difference.
I mean, we had a couple of days of like above 20 actually at the beginning of the week, and then sort of towards the tail end of the week, it went down to like 7, 8. But the sun is out, the sky is blue. The days already noticeably become longer, and that alone I think is a very good thing. Also, perfect time for your your big move next week. So probably good to move house in while the sun is out, not while it's raining. So yeah, great times ahead, hopefully. Good. So usually the last couple of weeks we had sort of dedicated episodes for the to go through the Scott Galloway predictions, and I thought, or we thought, this week we're gonna do something a little bit different and pick up on one particular topic that is sort of not dominating the news, but a lot of people are talking about it, and it's really sort of picking up momentum. And that's the whole topic of social audio, particularly the sort of leader, I would say, in the space at the moment, an app called Clubhouse. So Clubhouse is a social audio only app. So it's basically like a drop in. You can drop into sessions where people host rooms, and then you can listen in the background. Hosts can have other hosts, so they do sort of episodes together, but then almost everyone who follows the room can just go in and listen to conversations. I read some numbers the other day, and they actually, just to see where the growth is in that area. In December, the platform that is currently in, I think that's something maybe to mention it there, in public beta, which means like you can only go onto the platform if someone who's already on the platform invites you, because they sort of want to scale while not breaking probably the platform and the underlying technology and all of that. But back in December, the platform had 600,000 active weekly users. I think this is how they sort of have their metrics. And last week they just hit 10 million. So you can see the within a matter of like 2 months. I mean, that exponential curve, if it goes like this, and maybe even if they go out of public beta, is definitely, I think, one to keep an eye on. I mean, it's not competing yet with the likes of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter in terms of active users, but it's a very interesting one. So maybe, Fahim, just I know you've been on the platform. You actually were so kind to let me on the platform with an invite. So you've been around a bit. Like, give me your your summary of what you see like Clubhouse to be. The features it makes it, how it makes it different from other platforms, how it has carved out that niche. Like any thoughts to start with?
Yeah. So yeah, no, I must say, I've been messing around in the fringes, but I would not say that I've yet hosted a room
Yeah.
or anything like that. But I've been dipping in and out of certain folks, and I must say, although they are still in public beta, it is definitely a marketing ploy as well to
Mm,
run a little bit of an exclusivity and things. Whenever you have an invite, you got 5
Feeling of
invites.
scarcity, typical marketing tactic. Yeah.
Exactly, and you feel a bit obliged to hand out your invite. You mobilize your network. So there is some psychology, human behavior going on in driving demand up. And you and I have always said, look, this scaling thing. If people are still struggling to scale technology these days with numbers, I don't know, but it
Not
all
so
good.
much.
I
Yeah.
think they definitely want to hone in on the features and things like this. What do I think of it? I must say, you can never predict the future, as we always said on our podcast, because who would have thought whether there was still another room for another social media
Mm,
type platform, right?
mm,
And this is another one where visually you can't see anything, just audio. Like if somebody were to be pitching this, you would have thought, no, you want all bells and whistles. But
yeah.
to the contrary, I'm always pleasantly surprised about what makes it through, what makes it a little bit more mainstream.
Mm,
And this is a great example of voice dropping in and out into
yeah.
rooms. Initially, I thought the concept is really weird. Do you just like go into a room and then you're expected to contribute? But no, yes, you can be in listening mode and just hearing
That's it.
someone else's conversation.
Yeah.
So I think it's not as creepy
Well,
or
now that the
so.
rooms are they're getting bigger, right? It's not that there's like one person having a conversation with themselves and you almost need to participate. It's like there's a lot of the rooms now. I mean, that I've been in, like there's at least like 40, 50 people, and most of them just passively listening. So it's a really unintrusive sort of experience, right? Because you can really just that's for me like the one thing I thought is an interesting one, that audio always has been, because it's sort of, you can do it almost in every situation, every wherever you are, day of time, location, because like you can even put it in your pocket. You don't need to look at it. You can just listen, right? And if you can't be bothered anymore, you just move on. It's like it's a very low barrier of entry from a media format, in my opinion, like
Yeah,
voice in general, right? But then a podcast sometimes, like, do I have like an hour now? Well, okay, cool. Hey, they're just hosting something. Let's see if I like it. If not, go. It's this drop in, drop out. I think it's an
yeah.
interesting.
And I think what I've found, where I have, of course, with any platform, if you've got some big names or folks that
Yeah,
are hosting, that there's definitely an attraction there. So I listened to the one where Elon Musk was grilling the Robinhood CEO,
yeah.
Naval, Joe Rogan's on it, and I think it's still in its very original raw form,
Mm,
and all of these big names are just using it as a very casual conversational style, so you get to
ab-
creep a little bit behind about what they're thinking, and it's like they feel like they've got their guards down, whereas maybe on
yeah.
some of the other platforms, it's not formal, but it's a little bit okay, follow a certain number of characters, blah, blah, blah. But this one, you definitely get the authentic, raw, unscripted folks with big content producers.
Absolutely.
I don't know
Yeah.
what you
No, I
experienced so
think
far.
that I think that's a really good point, right? It's like, I mean, first of all, it's not that well kept secret anymore. That just a few people in that niche dabble around, and I mean, Elon Musk were hosting rooms, and as you said, like grilling the Robinhood as CEO during the whole GameStop frenzy, like 2-3 weeks ago, and that already puts things on everyone's radar. So the fact that those people are already getting into those platforms, I think has part to do with the growth and everything. For me, the question though, and that's what we discussed a little bit before, is if it now gets this sort of traction from high what do we call them, like high audience relevant people, right? Or people who have like a large audience, like Elon Musk,
Yeah.
and obviously the number one podcast in the world. So what do you think the other platforms will do, because they will want to capitalize on it, right? And I always like take the Snapchat story, where they invented like a really cool product within their platform, which was stories. And then you know, all the other, like almost everyone now has copied it. Obviously the ones that were doing it best were Facebook/Instagram with the stories that they came up with. But then, you know, you now have stories on WhatsApp, and you have stories even on LinkedIn and on
LinkedIn.
YouTube, right? And
Yeah.
it became this new media format, and everyone took it. And for me, I'm just wondering, with the other platforms, and I'm thinking specifically for me, I was thinking, oh, maybe it's gonna be Instagram, but now I'm thinking, actually, why would not Spotify just go in and say, like, listen, you know, on our platform, we already like audio heavy podcasts, we already control that audience, we're just going to add a feature where now Joe Rogan, you know, in addition to his exclusively having his podcast on the platform, he's going to also have this drop-in sessions where and they just featureize it, and they, you know, and they just bring it to Spotify. Or Facebook does same. Twitter apparently announced that they're thinking about doing Twitter Spaces, I think they call it, you know, very similar. LinkedIn would be a typical one, because a lot of the
Yeah.
Clubhouse ones is around like tech and investing and photography and skills, professional stuff. Obviously, there's also, I saw like single and ready to mingle, so people are using this for speed dating. That was a funny one as well. But like LinkedIn, you know, perfect platform to do that, you know, say like, okay, you know, we have the audience, let's just build a feature. So I'm going on a little bit of a rant here, so I apologize for that. But like, what do you think? Like, how could Clubhouse, are they gonna do it? First question, like, are the other platforms, do you think they're gonna adopt a feature like that? And what could Clubhouse do in order not to just be eaten and shredded by the big tech sharks out there?
True. So I think what others are gonna do, they already are. They're absolutely gonna copy it, right? Because you know what? I'm a big believer of in a certain aspect of innovation is, you know, copy someone else, do it better.
Yeah.
Right. There's nothing, there's no shame in that, right? And you know, Mark, one thing I saw, if you look at Mark Zuckerberg on Clubhouse, you know, you get a little title thing at the bottom, description, like, you know, whatever you want to say, right? So for him, he said, so it's Mark Zuckerberg, and underneath it goes like, I'm copying this shit.
Is it really?
He said that. So
Is that a fake
is
account, or
like,
is that really his account?
you know what? He had, it was quite a number of hundreds, thousand followers, right? So I need to double check that if anybody
I mean, that
can
would be
confirm
savage
that.
if he would actually, on his
I
actual
think
account, say like, man, I'm gonna put you
I'm
out of
gonna.
business.
So he's already just testing all the features out. You know, he's gonna be like, "Yep, I want this, I want that, I don't want that, etc." Right?
That's crazy.
So I think like the Snapchat stories and all of that, yeah, it's gonna get copied, and it's the feature is gonna even itself out, and you know, people are gonna just, you know, try and move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So what does this mean for Clubhouse, right? So I think ultimately with all of these platforms, it's all around the social and the content aspect of it, right? um, I think one thing that I found quite, I don't know, I'm in two minds about it. I was like, you know, you naturally think like Clubhouse should just add a feature where they can archive all the talks so you can go back, you
Yeah.
know? Well, that will turn it into a Spotify type of thing,
Or
right?
YouTube.
But or YouTube, right?
Yeah.
But actually, you know what? Maybe they should stick to their game plan, saying, look, these are exclusive events, you know, you either attend the event or you miss it, and then it's fine. You can hear about it on the other platforms, but what Clubhouse gets, because I've seen a number of recorded sessions on YouTube, but they use the Clubhouse, so the brand is spreading and spreading through other social media platforms as well. And I am a massive believer that once your brand becomes the verb or owns the space, right? You've got a brand moat that then you can start to,
Yeah.
you know. So I think there could be some really exclusive events that Clubhouse could sponsor, you know, and bring like really great minds together. So imagine like these people just having this discussions and whatnot in a very open, casual format. So they've got an advantage there. Others will definitely copy it, but yeah, what do you
No,
think?
I think you're spot on, and I think you already covered it sort of at the beginning on the edges. I think what Clubhouse needs to do in order to win, or not win necessarily, because I think they can't win on scale and reach of audience, because the other
Yeah.
ones, they already have their 1.3 billion people on the platform. If they can just add that feature, they can roll that out to that audience. They can't win on that. I think what they can win on, as you said, exclusivity, and almost what the name and the brand even says, a clubhouse, right? A club. I think they also deliberately called it that, because a clubhouse is usually something where, you know, only certain people could get in. You know, it's like it's this exclusive group of people. So maybe even, maybe in my opinion, maybe they should not even attempt to open it after the public beta to like everyone can join. Maybe you can. They will continue to just do it per invite. And they exactly the polar opposite of what the other platform's going to do, who are going to go for scale and reach.
Yeah.
And they're going to just like, no, we're going to keep this a clubhouse. And the second thing I thought that was interesting that I start to hear more about, that they already now starting to think how they can help their creators actually make money with that and monetize it, you know, and almost put it. So I think one of the biggest mistakes they could make, if they put an ad model on it, I think that would completely destroy the experience. Like every time you join a room, you get like a ridiculous like 10-second ad or something like that. But I think
the Spotify ones, right? The free Spotify versions.
exactly. It's like, it's annoying. So either it's going to be subscription, and that's, I think that is a realistic model for them going forward, especially if they can then make maybe certain rooms for very exclusive people. And obviously it's all about the content creators, then they can win for the platform, to make those even more exclusive. So in certain conversations, you can only go in if if the creator sort of gets something out of it, but you as a user feel like, I really need to be there, because if I miss out on that talk from that Silicon Valley VC person who tells me about the next big thing to invest in, or I just want to be as close to Elon Musk as possible because I'm obsessed with him, and if he hosts a room, I think it's something around this that that's the only way, in my opinion,
I think,
Clubhouse
yeah,
can go and win.
I think exclusivity, and you gotta be there, right? Because I think for human beings, when you give them the option that, oh, you can always watch the recording later, it just goes on to some too long to-do list, and because you think it's always accessible, you actually never get around to doing it, right?
Yeah.
So imagine they should remain in public or / exclusive beta forever. The only way to get in is you have to know somebody that can share one of their 5.
Brings you to the Clubhouse.
That brings you to the Clubhouse, right? And nobody gets more than 5 invites, because then when you are choosing your 5 to bring, you feel a little bit like, okay, so I need to like hedge my bets. Where do I go? That in itself just gamifies it, right? They should not they should not try and be clever with that. Just 5. And what is the statistic? Within 7 dimensions of people, the whole world. Yeah. So keep it to 5. And then the exclusivity part, maybe they could do certain events where, it's the first 100 people or the first 1,000 people
that
right
join,
and that's it, you miss out, right? And they should make it very hard for people to have those recordings available. Of course, people can stick a camera and a microphone and things like this, right? But to be honest with you, the more their name travels on other social media platforms, that is such a David Goliath thing, so So Facebook, Google, YouTube, Twitter is just promoting, saying, "Have you seen the next, Clubhouse recording of, Elon Musk and Obama discussing, the future of space?" You know, and I think if they stay true to that, maybe they'll, I don't know, it'll be something unique, right? Because I think the trap they'll fall under if they start to get, I don't know if they're VC funded or not, there's always be pressure
Yeah.
to make money, right?
Yeah.
And then you got the standard revenue generating models with ads, with you can buy some invites, and scaling it up. So I think if they remain niche, exclusive, it'll just be such a great thing, and they will get diehard fans, and evangelists that will promote.
Yeah, I think maybe one thing that is also helping them at the moment to really set them apart, and I was just thinking of that, is like it's the sudden proximity, or no, the sudden breakdown of a barrier of certain people you really like admire to usually be very far away. Like you never will be able to reach them, right? You'll never be able to have a conversation with them or ask them a question. And suddenly, if you get into the right room at the right time and you ask the
Yes.
right question, Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Gary Vaynerchuk or whatever, like the person it is that you follow and you admire and you would love to have a conversation, ask them a question, suddenly with a click of a button you might be able to speak to that person. I think that in itself is a crazy value proposition. And I mean, that doesn't mean that the other platforms could not copy something like this as well, but again, it's the Clubhouse idea of, let's make it exclusive, because it's, what's the likelihood if there's suddenly 100,000 people in that room listening to that conversation that you will be heard, or your question comes through. And it maybe also for the creators and the famous people you might want to engage with, to be in a smaller setup maybe also makes them, rather than just thinking they sit in front of an audience of like 1 million people. I don't know. Then it's like, yeah, I think that could be an interesting one as well. And as you said earlier, the fact that it's not, there's no archives to either be there or you're not, I think is a good one. The only thing for me, I think they need to improve, just maybe to finish on a few improvements. I think there needs to be a much better sort of scheduling experience to some extent, right? So like almost that when you host a room and you've now built an audience, that you can almost build a relationship with the audience, saying like, hey, by the way, don't miss out on our 10 o'clock Pacific hosting of topic XYZ on every Saturday. And you sort of like, because there's no messaging at the moment and no commenting and no nothing, you almost like you're either in there and you figure out there's something happening there, or you're not. At least I haven't figured it out myself yet, if there's a calendar.
I think you're right. I think you can add something to your schedule, but then a lot of people use other platforms to promote it, so there is element of, because it's very hard to know what I've signed up for, when is it, doesn't really show up in my calendar, and most of the time I've missed it.
Exactly. Yeah, and then that becomes a little bit frustrating. And if I think if an experience becomes frustrating, like that's the worst part with those platforms, right? Then people just like, yeah, you know what, I tried it, I didn't like it. So yeah, any other thoughts from your observations, like how they could make that whole thing better? What I found a little bit weird is like that whole emoji design idea around it. They have you seen that?
No,
Like,
what's that?
so they, when you sign up and then they ask you for what are you interested in, and almost everything, even their logo is like the emoji hand, right? Like the waving hand or something like that. I don't know. It looks a bit dorky, to be honest. Like, I think they could do something, the exclusivity part with this sort of like visual identity. I'm not sure if it works 100%.
We know you're a perfectionist, though, innit? So we know that.
I don't know, but like, nah.
You've spotted that. But I think one thing I would love to see executed in a slightly better way. Whenever you see a live show, when in many of like live streams, you can have the conversation on the right in line, right? So people are liking it, commenting, but there's so much going on. It's very hard to focus, like, okay, on the mainstream, or there's like loads of comments, right? I think there's a real opportunity for Clubhouse to find it needs to be just a single engagement button, right? That as the members are talking, if the audience kind of resonates with that thing, they just like up the graph, and so as they're talking, the folks that are agreeing, the graph just goes up and then down and up, and I think, if the folks that are participating, they can also see that. You don't have to over process it, right? You don't have to read all the comments, things like this, but just a very small, the beat, the live of the conversation, and people are just engaging. And if you don't engage, it kind of flatlines, right? Which is fine.
It's like applauding it up or applauding it down.
That's right. Exactly. What is the equivalent of like applauds or cheering, but done in a very, UX friendly way? That's number one. And maybe I'm just throwing it out there, Flo, for you and I. I mean, I know you and I are just the two of us here. It's a safe environment. It goes out. We don't do any editing, by the way, so I think we can be with that. But maybe we should be brave enough to do a recording on Clubhouse, and then if some random person joins, whoever it is, we just say, well, what do you think? We allow them to also contribute, right? Let's see where it goes. It could be how podcasting with strangers goes going forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we spoke about before. We said like, we might not find time to do like two things, but maybe we just like take this format here and we do what you said, right? We actually host a room instead, also record it, still put it on YouTube. And I think many people will do that. It's again it's the scaling your content, right? It's like you just do one thing, but you can then like push it out to like multiple channels and reuse it. So maybe we do something like this. Go ahead.
And for our podcast, it's not like we do charts and visuals. So, even on Spotify, when you listen, you're able to follow the conversation. So why don't we do that little experiment?
I think we should definitely, I mean, for once we should definitely do it. I mean, we should get our we should actually get in there and do it, right? That's what I always say, like I want to do more rather than just talking. I mean, I'm in the app now and I've been listening to rooms, so I think we can talk about, but like actually being able to host, maybe we can then do a volume 2 of this chat today and actually see how also the creator experience or like the hosting experience was. One last thing I wanted to mention, and I don't want to go long about it because we said we want to keep this a short one again. I think there's a very interesting opportunity in there for marketeers as well, and not so much about like promoting their products, but I was thinking, the social listening aspects. If you go in there and your particular company, for example, focusing on photography or let's say self-improvement or something like that, right? And there's obviously rooms hosted on that particular topic, and you can just go in there and listen to actually your target audience, because what Clubhouse does beautifully is like it gathers a very relevant crowd of people around one niche and interest. And if you can just get in there and listen, I would say I would highly recommend to just do it passively at the beginning, because you don't want to go in there by like, can I ask a question? Then you go like, oh, by the way, I have this great product, but bam, blocked for life, hopefully. But like, if you can just listen to conversations to actually see what your consumers might be talking, the words they use, what problems they have, and so on. I think there's a tremendous opportunity for really like listening to your audience, and then like, executing at the back of that, while even then thinking, hey, there's people really interested in this topic and I have something to say, and you sort of like, you make a room around it, and not hosted by, I don't know, TripAdvisor if it's about travel or something like that, but, people within the company. I think there's definitely an aspect in there to promote your business around a specific niche interest, purpose. Maybe it's a lot around this. So I'm interested to see what Clubhouse is going to do, if they're going to add more features to the platform, where also the sort of company clients, because at the moment it's a lot of like private people, right, private creators and so on, can also host rooms. And I'd be interested in that, like a sport Clubhouse where there's like, hey, we have Michael Jordan on next week, and it's like ESPN or something like this, and they have like a drop-in session with like Michael Jordan talking about, I mean, I would listen to that, to be honest. Asking Michael Jordan a question potentially, bloody hell. Like, I think that is still the craziest thing about this platform. Then I'm gonna stop. The fact that suddenly you might be able to, ask Michael Jordan, Elon Musk, Barack Obama, Angela Merkel, because I'm in Germany, a question, something that is usually like, for most people, impossible, like literally impossible, or the chance you get
And
close.
I think the unique part here is that it is obviously you'll submit your question and it will get filtered, vetted,
Yeah.
but then you'll be unmuted to actually ask that question, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not one of them like, okay, here's the top 5 questions, blah, blah. I think the uniqueness of you being in an audience, in an event, and then there will be some vetting going on, just to keep it safe and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, also
Yeah.
B2B marketing, right? You then be unmuted, you ask the question, the people will probably remember your name, unless it was a very stupid question. Then they also remember your name, but like for the wrong reason. But if you ask a really good question, and then you follow up afterwards through like other media, hey, remember, like I think that there's really good stuff in there. I mean, I hope the platform will stay content focused. I probably know it won't be, because all of those platforms at the moment, at one point, will become, vehicles of monetization and sort of selling and all that. But yeah, it's a really cool thing to see that new social media things
Yes.
pop up, and audio's picking up. We were already all the time very bullish on audio, and I love the format. It's so unintrusive in your life. You can listen to it, while you cook, clean, work out, go for a walk, in the car, at work. No, you shouldn't do that. But like you could, and it's cool. I love it. So yeah, really, really keen to see where social audio is going.
Definitely. Cool. I think we should wrap it up.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. As always, we wanted to go for 20 minutes. We never managed to do that, apparently, but it's fine. We hope you're still with us. If you are, please, if you're on YouTube, give this thing a like here. Leave us a comment. Also subscribe to the channel. Hit that ring bell so you can actually get notified whenever we release an episode on Sunday or Monday sometimes. If you're on LinkedIn, again, start a conversation. If you have any questions, comments, or thoughts, if you believe we should really do a Clubhouse room, or we shouldn't, then you can also let us know. You can also email us, and we are looking forward to next week when we will be back with another episode. Stay safe, stay healthy, be good, enjoy the weather, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Peace.